Alright, today I'll be helping you find a zero with factoring and the quadratic formula. We'll be factoring 4x squared plus 12x plus 5. First, you need to look for a GCF, which in this problem there isn't one. So the next step is splitting the problem into two parentheses. You split 4x squared evenly into both parentheses, and then you need to use the things that multiply into 5 add up to 12, which with these. So the only things that multiply to make 5 are 5 and 1. Since it's positive, they both have to be positive or both negative. In this problem, 5 times 2 equals 10x, or 5 times 2x, and then 2x times 1 equals 2x. Add those together, you get 12x. That means we did it correctly. The next step is setting each parentheses equal to 0. So you do 2x plus 5 equals 0, as well as 2x plus 1 equals 0. So you minus 5 minus 5. You do reverse PEMDAS in this part. So negative 5 divided by 2. X equals negative 5 halves. That's how you find 1x, and then you do the other parentheses. So minus 1, x equals negative 1, or 2x rather, and then divided by 2, divided by 2. You'd get that x equals negative 1 half and negative 5 halves. The other way to do this problem is quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a and times c, all over 2 times a. And we basically fill it in with the problem. With 4x plus 12x plus 5, b would be 12, so negative 12 plus or minus 12 squared minus 4 times 4, which is a, and then c, which is 5, all over 2 times 4. Alright, so to figure out this problem, you'd basically just solve it, and then once you get to the plus or minus, do both plus and minus. So 12 squared is 144. Oh, you'd keep the negative 12 plus or minus, and then 144 minus 16 times 5, which would be 80, all over 2 times 4, which would be 8. And then the next step, you would continue on with the problem. So 144 minus 80 would be 64. So 64 after negative 12 plus or minus all over 8. And then 64 square rooted is easy. It's 8. All over 8 plus or minus negative 12. There we go. And then in this problem, it has everything in the problem can be divided by 4. So you take out 4 from it, and it would be 2. It would be negative 4 plus or negative 3 rather, plus or minus 2 all over 2. And then you'd solve the problem based on plus and minus. So on this side, you'd have negative 3 minus 2 all over 2. And then you'd have negative 3 plus 2 all over 2. And this, you do 3 minus 2, which would be negative 5, all over 2, which you have x equals negative 5 halves. And then this side, negative 3 plus 2, which would be negative 1 all over 2, which means x equals negative 1 half. And if you did it correctly, it'll have the same answers as your factoring, because you can do both quadratic formula or factoring. Quadratic formula is only used is better used when you don't have a way to factor. It's just the only thing you can use. But yeah, that's how you find zeros.